Morning, everybody. Welcome to our first meeting for the year. We'll just run through our health and safety in the event of emergency. I think everyone knows, but leave through the marked exits and assemble on the car park next to the St John's building. Apologies. We have an apology from Karen for lateness. Somebody can move that. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Graham. All in favour? Aye. Thank you. We have a recording device and we're live streaming. No? Chair? No?
Sorry, I just called you Madam Mayor. So
oh, there's a bit of a risk in that as well.
Especially in an election year.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Never wish for that. Thank you very much. Not open, not in this lifetime. Any announced urgent business? Fantastic. We go straight to the minutes for confirmation in the last meeting. Any matters of accuracy on pages 8, 9, 10. Let's just risk items. Somebody wants to move those as accurate. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Graham. All in favour?
Aye.
Any matters arising that aren't covered later in the, I was going to say menu, agenda. We're obviously having one of those days.
yeah.
Okay. Just ease into the year. That'll be good. By the end of it, we should get there. If we just want to through the work plan for any updates or commentary.
Right. Thanks, Madam Chair. What I've done that was request from the last meeting to try and align the items to what our terms of reference allow for, and the terms of reference numbers, the terms of reference are in the back of the document, back of your agenda anyway. But we've got a few add-ons there being legal issues which aren't specifically identified in the terms of reference, major project review and some other stuff there. But so yeah, that's the improvements I've made. We do have the 3 formal meetings before the election, and then I think we do have an indicative date for the November meeting, but it will be subsequent to the election. So, but some of the key things here are major project review as we move through the Soldiers Block redevelopment, which is a significant project. Perhaps in the next meeting will be just prior to its formal opening, so we'll have a full roundup of the cost of that. We are obviously going through our ERP transition, so my intention at the next meeting is to have a project manager do, just come and provide some details on that. We're obviously potentially moving ahead with the fly right project, and then obviously local water done well is a big looming issue. So just keeping those front of mind and making sure that they're firmly on the agenda each time.
Okay. Do we have, you've got a question mark for that November date, do we actually have one that I could tentatively throw in my calendar? I don't double book myself. Come back to us offline.
I think we did tentative, but again, it is tentative because the committee's disbanded.
The new council will set it as just as an independent, having now 6 councils. By the way, I should probably, just Madam Chair, on that topic, just note that from the conflicts register that I'm just been appointed chair of West Coast Regional risk. So just for the record, I don't think there's any conflicts associated with that with her and Millie, but
I think tentatively we've got the 11th of November as the date for the audit and risk, but again, to be confirmed. Yeah, Only a couple of weeks after the new council will be sworn in.
Just, I mean, it'd be unlikely that council will change the days of Tuesdays, that will recommend to a new council, and I guess that will come through prior to the election. It would be unlikely that we'd suggest a day changed. I mean, out away from Tuesdays I'm talking about. I don't know if these days are that,
It is what it is.
It is, yes, and this depends on what happens with elections, really, doesn't it?
yeah.
Right, okay, thank you for that. I think we'll just skip there now, couldn't we? So I'm making a wee change. We might skip straight to our health and safety. Well, we've got the gentleman in the room, so we don't keep him there. Okay, then we'll come back to agenda. Good morning, welcome, John. Will you take us through?
So the health and safety report, you see at the instance over the reporting period is slightly different. There are 3 other instances that haven't been reported. I was on leave at the end of January, so I had to put in a report early on just 2 days, and we had a flurry of incidents at the last 2 days. So the one medical treatment eye wash for windborne debris, that was someone out in the field and they just had an irritation. They went to the doctor, but it was obviously medical treatment. The 2 instances of intimidating behaviour are actually 3. So there were one with MTFJ, there was one at the transfer station in Ambley, and the same person at the second instant, 29th of January. And as a result of that, that person was trespassed from that site. The 2 other incidents, there's been electric shock. Our electricians received a 240-volt electric shock, which has generated an investigation. Quite fortunately, the line manager who normally does an investigation is actually an qualified electrician as well, so that's we can see the outcome of that investigation with interest. And there was, although it's moot whether it's our responsibility or not, a tree fell on the camper van at Balmoral Park. But what it has raised is the visibility of our lease agreements with the people that use council land, and there's a piece of work going on at the moment looking at where these are in place, whether people are, you know, what our responsibilities are and following up on that, because obviously the trees belong to us in that instance. So, and there are other instances around the district where that may be the case. So it's been a good, good highlight for us.
It certainly highlighted some things indeed, yes. And I guess you're talking about where the liability lies for the maintenance and the perhaps warning signs of avoiding camping under trees, etc., etc.
Yes, yeah.
Questions? So the I see we're getting through these graphs.
Yes.
Starting to populate, so we can start from here. It seems to me that it's quite a visual way, quite a good visual way for us to, and we'll only get better over time.
Yes.
And it's working well for you.
It's the data's too small really,
Right.
to I probably get more benefit from seeing reports get in, but I'm at the very gross base level. But from a helicopter point of view, yes.
So, Mary?
Sorry, John, can you just be reminded, what's the definition of an unsafe act?
So an unsafe act is something where someone has caused, could have given rise to an incident due to the way that they performed. So they might an incorrect operating procedure, So if someone has done something, you could almost, if we didn't have intimidating behaviour, we could cast the guy that was there at the transfer station and say,
That's what I was trying-
but it'd be in respect to
Yeah.
employees, it'd be not following a procedure and
Yes.
opening themselves up to a risk that
Yeah.
would otherwise be mitigated.
Yeah, so it was a known risk, but they didn't act in the appropriate manner.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts from people? No? Anything else you'd like to cover with us? Well, look, I appreciate the work because it's always, and I understand this is in its infancy and it will show its benefits over time, but I think it will do its job as we go further through. And of course, if anything arises that improves, I think everybody's always trying to keep up with things to collate and keep this data, and patterns are the main thing, aren't they?
Probably the only thing I comment on is investigation. So we've got a real focus now on improving the way we investigate and how we follow through the corrective actions, which is why I'm taking an interest in the electrical shock one. We've got another incident that's outside of this reporting period, and there's been a lot of work following on from that one incident, which was just a graze on the arm, but it's opened up a lot of questions. So I've got confidence that we're moving in the right direction.
So I guess the thing you're looking for from investigations is some really hard evidence of how you can do things better or how you can.
It's opening up. We all tend to get tunnel vision when we do something a lot and we're very familiar with something, and it's often difficult to break out of that left field and try taking a wider perspective. So as part of our investigation now, we have someone not associated with the team who's had investigation training sit along as a peer to ensure that we're looking as wide as we can.
So it's quite fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Asking the stupid questions, of which there are none.
I'm an expert in stupid questions. But that's really positive, and it adds some teeth to the program, really, doesn't it? A bit more than just. That's excellent. Thank you. Somebody want to move that we accept you? Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Graham. All in favour? Aye. Here's to a good, safe year ahead. Thank you. Rightio, so if we move back to the page 14. Back to here. Governance points. Audit New Zealand action points.
So this is just the update of the Audit New Zealand report governance, the action points, page 15 and 16. We do have it down to 2 pages, but there's a number of these things that relate to fixed assets, which intrinsically will ultimately relate to a new computer system as well. So we're there's no use trying to, for instance, one of them, the number bottom of page 15, 27 is incorporate the Hamilton thermal pools fixed asset register into our own. So we're undertaking that process for the current system for Magic, but we've stopped that because we're obviously moving to a new system, and then we'll relook at how easy it is to consolidate that into our the new system. So so there's a few things there that will be good to do, but just get the timing of that right.
So that way you avoid rework.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense. Did you have something?
Oh, no, not really. I just think it's looking quite promising, really. Just a comment, I guess, saying if we look at the expected completion of the maybe.
You're optimistic.
Always the one page.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them just get moved over.
Yeah.
And again,
Anyway, we will, you know, we've you've done some good work.
We'll
Well,
no
is
doubt-
it
we'll no
so?
doubt come back to fixed assets and PX
Yes, yeah, indeed.
to, when we look at the draft report.
Yes.
Yeah, we are also waiting from Audit New Zealand, obviously the completion of annual report, which will they'll undoubtedly come in with another report to governance, so those action points will be added there. We are still, and I have asked, but only tentatively asked of the auditors, the completion of the long-term plan. There would have been action points or recommendations that came out of that process that it hasn't come from Audit New Zealand yet, but we'll do at some stage. Closing the loop on that, and that's important for us as we do move forward do have a plan in place for the next long-term plan, but not these components, if they've been identified by the auditors, we will need to incorporate as well.
I would be, through you, Madam Chair, I'd be surprised if there's not a few comments given the fact that we've had the issue with reconciling the fixed assets. That's, we spoke about it last meeting, and the need to be on top of our assets, especially with 3 Wars, local waters done well, whatever this week's acronym is for it. We need to be all on top of those areas, and it's sensible to leave it till we get all the feedback coming in, and then we're also changing ERP systems, so not doing it in a way that causes us to waste time because we've got to redo it. So I think it's a distinct project stream as this whole item, and maybe we can end up grouping some of these items together in some way and saying, well, this is a project, but we don't have to go and hit with a big sledgehammer.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. There's a few relating to fixed assets. There's
Quite a few integrated to that.
Yeah, 32 is doing a fixed asset stock take, and essentially just going through and making sure that we do have a number of assets on our asset register that have depreciated to $1. Okay, they've all but been written off because met their useful life, but we probably still have them. These, for instance, are things that you depreciate over 10 years, but they're still functional after 10 years. So it's just doing a real cleanup of the fixed asset register at the same time.
Through Madam Chair, and for insurance purposes, to have a record of those, and for on a fraud basis, so that we actually are keeping an eye on them, even though they're of zero value, that they're not susceptible to theft or misappropriation too. So that ties in with your fraud policies. So sometimes you can have a different class, almost a second register sitting beside it, where you transfer the zero value ones into that alternate, a second register.
Keeps them all
Well,
neat and tidy at the
and
same
then you
place.
still keep an eye on that, and know which ones exist and which ones don't from an insurance and asset protection point of view.
Pretty much at one easy glance rather than having
Yeah.
to sit through.
And I guess simplifies your main fixed asset register, but you can't, when you shift it, you can't forget about it.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Sorry?
Since we had our last meeting, we've had a substantial progress. So there hasn't been a lot that's been achieved in the last couple of weeks since we've been back on board.
I think you've had a focus on some items in the short term. Yep. Okay. Rightio. So we left something to lie on the table last time. We need to go to that
Was
now.
the annual report,
Annual
so we'll get
report.
into that in public.
Yeah, rightio. So we'll just run through the open agenda. Yep. So the treasury reporting.
Sorry, do you want someone to move the acceptance of the?
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Happy to move.
Thank you, Gary. Starting out one of those days. Luckily, we've got a good team, make sure nothing slips. Right, treasury reporting.
Right, page 24. we've got the quarterly treasury report from Bancorp, and within that they provide a commentary on both global and things are a little bit dominated by what's happening in the US at the minute. And then what's happening in New Zealand there. When they provided this report at the end of December, the 90-day bank bill rate sat at 4.17. I think this morning it was down to 3.86. So there's been a dramatic drop, which we're still exposed to a level of short-term movement in short-term rates, so that's coming the right way as far as we're concerned.
We've just, when I was driving out this morning, the US inflation rate has come through, and it's 0.2 or 0.3% higher than was expected, and the commentators suggesting that may cause the Federal Reserve not to lower their interest rates quite as quickly, and of course that will then feed into our interest rates potentially not dropping away at the rate we'd quite like them to. And of course, returns on your super funds and investments might not be quite there because the share market will be dropping as interest rates stay higher. It's more attractive in fixed terms. So, yeah, unfortunately, the cold that the US has got, and with all the tariffs that are coming in the US, there's only one answer: that's going to make things more expensive in the US. So I can't see, personally, I think that the US interest rates are going and inflation is going to stay high.
Comment. Don't Canada pay the tariffs and Mexico pay the tariffs?
Well, if you have them on, the cost goes up, so therefore it must flow into inflation.
Yeah, so I suppose so certainly keeping an eye on that, but yeah, there has been for a bit of time the rates coming down. The page 28 and 29 just standard graphs. You're all up. The key number there, even though it's sort of hidden in the table on page 26, is all up weighted average cost of funds, including margin for council at the end of December was 4.54. And yeah, sort of hoping that will come down a little bit with the drop in the short-term rates. Just I suppose of interest on page 30, you can see we've got, this is the total level of our external debt at 77 million at the end of December. 10 million was in short-term, which matures next week and will be rolled over. We've got 18 million, some 18 million of FRB fixed rate bonds. So those rates are not influenced by the short-term rates. The always the annoying one there is that first one that's due to mature 15th of April. 3 million at 0.88%. So we'll lose the benefit of that one when it matures. And then we've got 49 million of our debt that is in floating rate notes, FRNs. So they are the ones that are influenced by the 90-day bank bill rate. So every quarter they're repriced. And so we've got 49 million there. We've got current swaps in place on page 31, 14 million plus forward swaps, 19 million to provide that level of certainty on the interest rates for those the bits of debt that that are on floating rates.
Madam Chair, if I can just note for committee members on pages 28 and 29, top right table, we've got a nice run of yeses saying we're compliant. Bottom right table on 28, nice run of yeses noting we're compliant. And then of course bottom right on 29, again policy compliant, and that's probably important for this committee to be noting.
Yes.
That we are sitting within policy and
We do occasionally aren't compliant, and that is reported to council and formal resolution to note that we're not in compliance, but with it's normally countered by an action the following month to get us within compliance.
Through Chair, Jason, periodic times of non-compliance, does that have any effect on our rating process? Because the credit rating process we
No.
go through. Yeah, in that process.
I haven't started that process yet because I have stalled it, conveniently stalled it whilst we're working through the local audits done well, because if we lose
Yep, that makes
50
sense.
million of our debt, we don't have an issue from a debt revenue point of view, and the cost of going through that process, is between 60 and 70,000. So avoiding that in the meantime, while we won't get, the key to make it work is getting the benefits, as well as being able to potentially borrow more. It's the key benefit is the reduced interest costs that LGFA impose on us, but you actually have to have something like 60 to 70 million of new debt for that to take effect.
Thank you.
I agree, it's totally appropriate that we put that on, we've got that on top while we've sorted out what's going on moving forward.
But it has been convenient because I've had enough of auditors, so another load of them coming in will be a lot of fun.
quite likable creatures.
Right.
The other component of the Treasury report there is just from the LGFA. They provide, we have to meet certain covenants, and obviously that key covenant that we're always mindful of is making sure that our net debt to total revenue ratio is within the limits. So every year we do provide compliance documents. It's been based on our draft annual report. So there's two parts to that. Page 34 is all the councils that do have a credit rating, and when they have a credit rating, they have a limit of 290% debt to
280.
Debt to revenue. With you see the councils with the highest ones, Hamilton City and Tauranga City and Waipa are over 200, and Rotorua. And page 34 is where we sit, the unrated councils. So that has the default debt to revenue ratio of 175%, and at the end of June, as 104, our limit is under Treasury policies 175, but based on a long-term plan, it was going to be year 4 before we're at that point. But that was on the basis that we retained 3 waters, so the goalposts substantially move if there is a different structure in place. Water CCOs do with the LGFA do have a default of 500%. So that's done on the basis that they are very long-term assets, whereas with council, even though we've got substantial long-term assets, these are mixed. And then just
Oh, sorry, no, just a question really in regard to the unrated councils like our own, maybe that's Graham, when you're up and down the country as well, have it's a position that we, you know, considered about becoming a rated council and then perhaps reconsidering or pausing that as a process because of the uncertainty or the unknown that we're, you know, the pathway we're going down. Is that a common story, or were councils looking to get that rating, or, you know, like, where do we sit in the sort of continuum of need or around becoming rated or remaining an unrated council? Can you,
It's really
horses for
philosophically, it's a trade-off between the cost of getting a rating and
Yeah.
the benefit of the interest bill.
Yeah,
It's the primary thing that people look at. It's not cheap to get a rating.
yeah,
So you've got to have a certain level of debt before it's worth the effort, basically, which is, I think, what Jason was alluding to. So
Yeah.
we are sort of sitting on the cusp where it probably doesn't make a lot of difference each way.
yeah,
And it's probably going to depend what happens with our infrastructural assets and
yes.
what we need to spend.
Yeah, 'cause
But there
when-
will be a point if we gear up there just on 500% for the water entities. Shall we say that would probably be keeping me awake at night if I was anywhere near that.
Well, if we do transfer debt, water ring fenced for council does, because of the investment we've put in the past few years, we are very close to that 500%. In its own right.
Because I guess in a really simplistic view, you can look at both these pages and say these are the large councils versus smaller councils, you know, that are rated or non-rated, you know. Don't know. Anyway.
And yeah, I mean, the RGFA is the key funder. You know, every council is part of the RGFA in some form. There's only 3 councils there: Environment, Southland, Dunedin City and Chatham, that haven't borrowed from the RGFA, but Dunedin City is actually covered by a CCP there, the Dunedin City Treasury Limited, that is using the RGFA to do its borrowing.
Chatham's is quite a different formula anyway, isn't it, really, around how they manage their funding? Yeah.
Right.
Questions, comments? Excellent. Anything else you want to tell us about it? Somebody has to move that the information be accepted. I'll get it right this time. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Karen. All in favour? No vote, page 37.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is just a standard report every quarter. Just the nature of the loan agreement between council and the Hurunui Community Development Trust is that they provide a quarterly report in respect to the loan, and that's what's been attached on page 39. This loan, there's a formal loan between council. We had funded that via the Better Off funding and the previous Better Off. So it's more form over substance, but it's showing where what action the trusts are up to.
And it's proven to be a really good project, isn't it?
In the third house there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
All right, move the information be received. Second is by Karen, all in favour?
Right.
Excellent. Nothing else to do in this bit, is there? That's the end of the open agenda. Somebody happy to move, having looked at all the items to be considered, someone happy to move us into PE? Thanks, Mary. Seconded Graham, all in favour? I declare the meeting closed.
Thank you, Fiona. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome, thanks, Fiona.
And my apologies for this, everybody.
We-